What's up, everybody, and welcome back to HMA Fantasy Wrestling, episode number 27. I am here today with my guys, Earl Smith of the Open Mat and Jack Mueller, ready to take on the last quarter of the bracket of the first round. But we're ready to jump into this thing. So how are you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing well. Ready to talk some wrestling, like always.
Heck yeah. And how about you, Earl?
Couldn't be much better. Got a big day today, so I'm excited.
Changing the teams up with the hat, I see.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed about baseball right now, so they're on my bad list. So I'll wear a non-baseball hat today.
All
My
right.
dad's a huge Texas Rangers fan, but he's kind of a bandwagoner. So recently he's been a Yankees fan.
Oh no, that's no good.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
I'm glad the Braves are good again because I'm from Georgia, so that's, Georgia sports is not a fun place to grow up being a sports fan. Is usually make it to the championship and then lose in the most embarrassing way possible.
Hey, at least you're making it to the championship. Last time a Dallas sports team's made the championship was when we won in 2011. So it's been a decade of drought pretty much for us.
I don't know, man. Do you want to just not be there, or do you want to be there 2 years in a row? So I'm a Falcons fan, and I graduated from the University of Georgia, and so the Falcons go to the Super Bowl up 28-3 and lose to the Patriots. Just couldn't figure out how to run the ball, being up 25 points.
I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but in 2012 or 2011, we were playing the St. Louis Cardinals. The Texas Rangers were in the World Series, and we were up 3-2. And Nelson Cruz, he's talked about this before. He said he played up a little bit because he wanted to be the first one to celebrate. It was like ninth inning, 2 outs, and the guy hit it right over his head. He brings in a few RBIs, and we lose that game and then lose Game 7 after that.
Yeah.
So we've had some heartbreaks over here too. And that was our second year in a row to be there.
Man.
Lost to St. Louis. Or not St. Louis. San Francisco the year before that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then my senior year, we in college was the year Georgia went to the national championship against Alabama. And I went to the Rose Bowl, which was incredible. Like I got, as students, they have like a lottery, and Taco Bell sends a certain amount of tickets, and kids get drawn out of a hat. And I got a ticket to go to California to see the Rose Bowl, and none of my friends did, not a single person. And so my wife, she's my girlfriend or fiance at the time, but she was like, "Are you really going to go all the way over there by yourself?" Like, hell yeah, I am. Like, sure, why not? And so got on a plane, went over there by myself and watched it and came back. But then the national championship, dude, I mean, we had the game in control, and then the infamous story of Tua, I guess, started and came in and took over the game. And I can't tell you how let down I was of that touchdown pass thrown on the last play. Like, we sacked the dude on, was it second or third down, sack him, and it comes back. It's either third and fourth and like 20, and he throws a touchdown from like the 50-yard line. So, yeah, being an Atlanta sports fan sucks.
So, are you gonna declare to your college? We saw your list of top 5 schools yesterday. Are you gonna declare Jack online?
Yeah, so there was a mix-up on the first list that came out. I think somebody might have hacked my account and put the wrong schools out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and Jack got pretty upset, and he, I noticed it, and so I had to go back and change it, and put the right list of schools out. My top 5 is just UVA.
Seems like you got it right.
Yeah, it's just UVA 5 times. So
yeah, no, that makes sense.
Well, I put it out there originally with 5 schools, and Jack was upset, and I said, well, you're not there anymore, man. Like, if you were still there, it'd be in the top 5. But
oh gosh, why'd you have to say that? Why'd you have to go and say that?
I had to throw it back at you a little bit.
Because Garland liked one of them.
Yeah, that was funny. But anyways, did you guys see the women's wrestling getting voted as an emerging sport.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Excellent.
That's really
Yep.
big.
That is
I
so
mean, we
cool.
need women's wrestling to be good. So
Yeah,
I mean,
for
I
sure.
want to fully support them because the more women's wrestling programs there are, there's going to be more men's programs, I think. And the more people that can watch it, the better.
Who do you guys see as the first schools to adopt it? Do we think it's going to be like a really big, like a Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, or is it going to be more of like from the bottom up?
I mean, I thought originally that Iowa was going to be that school when you had that contingent of girls out there. I don't know if that's going to be the case now, but I know you have other schools like I don't know, North Carolina has a couple women in their RTC, and I know, for instance, that Tony Ramos has been really progressive and pushing for stuff like that, so I could see them. But yeah, I think it will be a big school.
Yeah.
Especially now with like Corona and stuff. The MAC schools
Yeah.
are trying to get rid of sports pretty much. So I don't see it being from them, and I don't see it being from the Pac-12. Probably ACC, Big 12, or Big 10 school will probably get it first.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it. I want to see how it goes down. And I mean, just twice as much wrestling for us wrestling fans. So I hope they get it going pretty soon and get it televised and all that kind of stuff. And I'll have twice as much wrestling to watch. It's only a bad thing for my wife. So, yeah. But all right, well, we'll go ahead and get into this thing, and we'll get going. So the first thing we want to do is before we jump into it, we're just gonna kind of briefly go back over where we're at. In our quarterfinal matchups that are already set up, we have 2005 going to be taking on 2015, and then 2018 is going to be taking on 2016, and 2013 taking on 2007. 2007 being our only upset, our only seed, that upset a higher seed in the first round. This last round, we're about to go over 2014 versus 2004 and 2017 and 2019. So going to be a whole lot of guys that are recent. And if you're a younger listener, you probably know a whole lot of these dudes versus some of the later years that we've went through. But we'll go ahead and get into this first duel and get started. So for this first duel, 2003 or 2014 versus 2004. 2014 is the number 3 seed, and 2004 is the number 14 seed. So getting into it, Earl, do you want to walk us through who is on the 2004 lineup?
Yeah, and before we get started, I was saying that before we started recording, this is really kind of a weird year because we only ended up with 2 undefeated national champions. The Hodge Trophy winner went, it was a NAIA guy, Emmett Wilson from Montana State Northern. The Hodge Trophy runner-up, I know Jack could probably tell you more. It's Scott Moore from UVA, who was actually a 3rd place finisher. So the 3rd and 4th place guys were actually the only D1 guys that were national champions. So really kind of awkward year. The 25-pound representative, Jason Powell from Nebraska, 133. Zach Roberson from Iowa State, 141. Cliff Moore from Iowa, 149. Jesse Jansen from Harvard, 157. Matt Gentry from Stanford, 165. Troy Letters from Lehigh, 174. Chris Pendleton from Oklahoma State, 184. Greg Jones from West Virginia, 197. Damian Hahn from Minnesota, and heavyweight Tommy Rollins from Ohio State.
All right. And then on the other end of things, 2014, this is Jesse Delgado of Illinois, Tony Ramos of Iowa, Logan Stieber, Ohio State, Jason Sertzis of Northwestern at the time, Alex Daringer of Oklahoma State, David Taylor, Penn State, Chris Perry, Oklahoma State, Ed Ruth, Penn State, Jaden Cox, Missouri, and Nick Gwiazdowski from NC State. So we'll looking at this thing. I think that the most that I heard about, I don't know. I mean, I think most people were kind of really looking forward to Ed Ruth, Greg Jones. But where do you guys think's best to start? I mean, honestly, these last 4 are pretty stacked, if you ask me. But where do you guys think we should start at?
I think Ed Ruth, Greg Jones is the hardest one for me to pick.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, we'll start with a good one, end with a good one. So 197 pounds, Jaden Cox of Missouri versus Damian Hahn of Minnesota. Earl, do you want to start us off with Damian Hahn?
Sure. Damian Hahn was regarded as probably one of the best recruits of the last 20 years, one of the greatest guys to come out of New Jersey. He was the 1 seed here, a senior, went 33-1, captured his second NCAA title, 4-time All-American, going 5-5, 1-1. In the quarters, he beat Josh Burt 6-2. In the semis, he beat Ryan Bader 2-1. And for the title, he beat Ryan Folsis from Iowa. I think it was 7-2.
All right. You said this was his second title?
Yeah, second title. He was also three-time Big Ten champ.
Awesome. And on the other end, 2014, you're actually going to have to help me out because I do not remember which year Jaden Cox that is.
That's his first one.
Yep.
It's his first one. Okay, so this is his freshman year. I should have known that already. But Jaden Cox, as a freshman, comes into the tournament, and he hit Nick Heflin in the finals, correct?
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm pulling up the bracket here. It didn't load the way I wanted to have it up. But this is where the Jaden Cox story really started. We all know where he's at today. You know, he's won 2 world titles and been basically untouchable for the last couple of years, but it all had to start somewhere. And in 2014, he was a freshman. He was the 2 seed, and working his way through the tournament, he hit Connor Hartman in the quarters, Chris Penny in the semis, and then Nick Heflin in the finals, winning it 2-1 in the finals. Bunch of really good guys in this bracket, but it looks like, I mean, I guess they're kind of spread out. You had Travis Rutt, Nathan Burak, Morgan McIntosh was the 3 seed that got upset. Scott Schiller, Kyvan Gadsden, a lot of really good dudes in this bracket. And Jaden Cox comes out on top as a freshman and sets it up for the potential 4-timer. Doesn't end up getting there. Gets 3 of them, but a lot of fun. I remember this was a cool year going because you had 2 freshmen win championships, and so it was cool thinking that there was 2 guys that had the potential at the moment of winning 4. I think it's always cool when you see a freshman win because it sets up all kinds of I don't know, hope for you down the road. But Jaden Cox, Jack, what are you thinking on this one? I don't know too much about what a matchup with Damian Hahn would look like for Jaden Cox.
I'm not sure. I feel like when I watched Damian Hahn, John Trench, I'm sure that was a different Damian Hahn, but it looked like John Trench was kind of dominating him in terms of Damian Hahn couldn't get to his stuff. John Trench really dictated the pace. And if I see that happening in this match again, I've got Jaden. It looked like he kind of was in a back seat that whole match. And I personally think Jaden Cox is better than John Trench. Yeah, I mean, if you can't even get your stuff going, you're going to have a lot harder of a time finishing on Jaden if you only get him on once or twice. I'll take Jaden in that battle any day because he's the best defender I've ever seen. Other than like maybe Chamizo, Jaden, Dean Howe before the danger rule. There's only a few guys that can not let anyone take them down.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at it, freshman year Jaden was 38-2, 54% or 43% bonus rate. Sorry, but his losses were a 1-point loss to Kyvan Gadsden, and then the other one was a 6-4 loss to Phil Wellington. So I mean, obviously the Kyvan Gadsden loss, it's actually in sudden victory. It was 3-1 in sudden victory. That's a it's there's not great losses, I guess, but losing to a national champion is not the worst. And then 6-4 Phil Wellington, but I'm not sure. Earl, what do you think?
And my initial reading was, knowing this was Jaden's freshman year, was to lean towards Han, but looking back at it, seeing the quarters, semis, finals, nobody got takedowns on Jaden. Those are all 1 point, not 1 point matches, but his opponent got 1 point, so obviously escape or something. So um, even at that point, he was pretty dang tough to take down. So uh, I'll go with Jaden here.
All right. Well, that makes it easy for me. Yeah, I'll round it out with Jaden as well. I think that definitely is the difference for me. Um, is just his takedown defense is incredible, and there's not a whole lot of dudes. Obviously, he's proven in the world that can get to his legs and take him down. So Jaden Cox is going to get the win here for us, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next match. And so the next match is going to set up 2014 Nick Wisdowski versus 2004 Tommy Rollins. And Earl, kick us off with Tommy Rollins.
Tommy Rollins, he was a senior this year, 4-time All-American. He was actually the first 4-time All-American for Ohio State, only the second multi-time champion for them. He went 2-1, 6-1. He's a 2-time Big Ten champion. Before Cole Conrad came around, he was the big rival with Steve Mocco, and that kind of carried on throughout the freestyle circuit after both of their college careers went over. They battled a bunch of times for World Olympic spots. Um, Tommy finished his career at Ohio State as the all-time takedowns leader, which I thought was pretty unique from a heavyweight. And he's like 6'3", long, real different type of heavyweight. You could see him as a high schooler, probably as a young kid at maybe 152, 160, then, growing into the weight class, learning how to wrestle. He beat in the quarterfinals Bodie Ogunwole, 8-6, then Leonce Crump, who played for a few years in the NFL, 5-2, and then Pat Cummins, 6-2 in the finals.
All right. And on the other end, a familiar name is Nick Wisdowski of NC State. This was his first title. He defeated Tony Nelson in the finals 4-2, and he actually set. I'm looking at an article that someone we might know might have written on the open mat that Earl wrote, but he 44-2, 44 wins being the program record. I don't know if it still is. That seems likely, but at the time it definitely was the program record. I bet it still is. But 44 wins is incredible in high school alone, let alone college. But yeah, I remember that match, and like I said, the other show, that was the year Minnesota was really close to winning a team title. And I remember I was really pulling for Tony Nelson, and Nick Wisdowski came out and just kind of won the match. And I mean, obviously won the match, but kind of just controlled the match and if I remember correctly, got a late takedown to secure it. And it was Tony Nelson. Tony Nelson might have been kind of hurt a little bit that match, I believe, something with his leg or something. But Nick Wisdowski, controlled that match after getting beat by Nelson earlier in the year. Set up his first national title. So he had a 59% bonus rate as well. And I put the check on the wrong person. So I'll kick it over to you, Jack. What do you think about this one?
Man, I like Tommy Rollins a lot, but I just think that Gwiz is a different breed of heavyweights, man. It's hard to go against him in his athleticism. I've got Gwiz.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Earl, what do you think?
I'm going to put the pressure on you. I'm going with Tommy Rollins. If this was even junior year Gwiz, senior year too, I'd probably give him the nod. But I think Tommy was too polished at this point, and I don't know. I like him. It would be a great matchup because they're both, very athletic, good offensively.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at Tommy Rollins and pictures of the guy, he certainly was more of that Gwiazdowski kind of heavyweight. He wasn't just the big old roly poly up there at heavyweight. He was a big old muscled up guy, and in tremendous shape, very athletic. He won 2 national titles, the same as Gwiz did. And I think I'm with you on this one. I think that if this was junior year or senior year Nick Gwiazdowski, I might have been leaning the other way. But I'm going to pick Tommy Rollins on this one. I just think that this obviously was a great year for Nick Gwiazdowski, winning his first national title, but I think that he got better as the years went on. And I'd give him more of an edge as the years went on. But this year, I think I'm going to give it to Tommy Rollins. So I'll go Tommy Rollins, and we'll tie the score up 3-3 and move to the top of the lineup, looking at Jesse Delgado representing the number 3 2014 team, and Jason Powell representing the number 14 2004 team. Tell us a little bit about Jason Powell, Earl.
All right, so Jason Powell is a senior this year, 3-time All-American, going 5th, 3rd, then 1st. He actually was the 1 seed. It's weird. We'll see it a couple times here. He was the 1 seed, but he lost in the Big 12 finals to Sam Hazewinkle. He beat Rob Rebben from Drexel in the quarters, and then beat Sam in the semis 6-3. And then going back to last week when we talked about Derek Moore, or last show, Derek Moore, Jason Powell's final was kind of the same way, where he gave up the first takedown to Kyle Ott, then went on to tech him 17-2. So another kind of crazy performance in the finals by a senior.
Yeah. And then on the other end of things, we've got Jesse Delgado. I think the first thing that pops in my mind, at least when you think of Jesse Delgado, is the crazy scrambles and leg passes. This was his 2nd national title. He went 31-2 this year with a 52% bonus rate. His only losses on the year, those 2 losses came, one to Nico Megaludis 5-4, and the other one to Thomas Gilman 3-1. So, obviously two losses that don't really bring your resume down very much, because 2 of the best dudes to do it during that time period as well. But in this year, he in the tournament, he was the 1 seed, and he beat on his way to the finals. He beat Joey Dance in the 2nd round, Corey Clark, and then Dylan Peters, and then Nashawn Garrett in the finals. So that's a pretty hard route to the finals as the 1 seed. Other guys in the bracket are Timmy Lambert, Earl Hall, Josh Martinez, Nico, Jared Patterson, David Terrell. I mean, there's so many good dudes in this bracket. Connor Utzi, who wasn't seeded, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the years that he All-Americaned. Actually, he did not All-American this year, but he was one of those guys that was frequently not a very high seed or not seeded at all in NAA'd. So a lot of really good dudes in this bracket. 2nd title for Jesse Delgado. Jack, what do you think about this?
This is one of the ones that I think is really tough. Jason Powell kind of dominated his way through the tournament and only had 1 loss in the year. It was like bonus decision over Hazewinkle, tech ball in the finals. So, I mean, I don't know. Delgado's route was definitely harder. But I don't know if his weight class was harder. It was Jason Powell, Sam Hazewinkle, Matt Valenti, Joe Dubuque, Kyle Ott. I mean, it's pretty loaded as well, but that's what you're going to get from those 25s. I think this was kind of the beginning of 125 being really, really tough after Stephen Abbas kind of had his dominant run. I mean, Travis Lee was there before him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a decision yet.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Obviously, I only know about Jason Powell as much as I was able to kind of like watch matches and watch tape on him and study up on that into things. But from what it seems to me, I think that he was pretty dominant in this year. And, the names that you're saying that he beat through the national tournament are a big deal to me. Some of the guys that Delgado beat obviously are a big deal on the other end of things too. But for me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, call me crazy, but like I'm going to go Jason Powell on this one. And I think it's because Delgado obviously was a 2-time national champion, was great. But I'm almost kind of feeling like it might have been like a Ben Askren kind of effect at the weight during the time. Nobody could really scramble with him and really figure out what he was doing with all these leg passes and he thrived in those same kind of positions. And I don't know, like I think people kind of couldn't figure him out, and that's why he won so many matches. But tell me if I'm wrong, call me out. But yeah, I'm gonna go Jason Powell on this. Earl, what do you think?
Man, I don't know. I feel like I've disrespected Delgado in the past, and you talked about his leg passes, a scrambling. I don't know if Powell would be able to have his way on the mat with him. Um, I think Delgado was probably too good from that position, and I'm gonna go with Delgado.
All right, Jack. No pressure.
Give me the top guy. I'll go Powell.
Powell. All right.
Strictly biased on being good at top.
There we go. I wonder if Jason Powell ever had 5 minutes of riding time, 5.5 minutes of riding time in his career.
The most I've had is 6:29.
Jeez.
6:29.
And I started on neutral every period.
Wow. Okay.
Might have been more than that. I got 6:35 against DeSanto one year, and the Vegas for third, and I took him down 3 times.
Man.
And started on bottom once.
I got to admit, dude, I watched you during the year and was pulling for you and all kinds of different dudes. But in my bracket, when I picked through it, I had you and Sebastian in the semis. And then I was like, oh, Sebastian's going to win. Like, it's between Sebastian and Spencer Lee this year. And, man, did you completely change my view on that match. Beat the tar out of him.
I should have done the same to Spencer. But,
Yeah.
I knew that people weren't respecting me because even people were loving on Bresser, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was that fifth guy. I was kind of the guy that everyone counted out because being ACC, no one knew anything about our conference. And so I kind of used that as some fire, and I definitely used it as an advantage. No one really watched my matches, so I could go in there free, do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the thing for me when I was picking was just the ACC schedule, and I think it's the exact same thing with Mackay, right? That was what people were thinking. The same exact thing with him coming in was, he was what, 20, 30 something and one, and people were just like, okay, well, where are the huge wins? But obviously, ACC is really tough and
that year I only wrestled 2 NCAA qualifiers before the tournament happened. But then I kind of made up for it because I got Mikhail McGee, who was pretty tough in the round of 12 or in the second round. Ronnie Bresser, Sebastian, and then Spencer. So I feel like I kind of made up for it in that sense.
For sure. That's a slate of guys to go through. But
yeah.
We'll get back to this bracket. Move on. 133 pounds. Tony Ramos of Iowa versus Zach Roberson. I'll go ahead and take it over for Tony Ramos. And for Tony Ramos, this was his senior season, finally capturing that elusive title. He was the 3 seed. He came in. I don't remember exactly what his record is. I'll look it up in a second. But he came in, and the 1 seed was Joe Colon. The 2 seed was AJ Shop. And he defeated Zane Richards in round 2, Mason Beckman, and then AJ Shop 5-1, and before beating Tyler Graff 3-1 in overtime. The infamous stare down before the match. That was awesome. Just watching that stare down made me want to run out there and jump on the mat and wrestle myself. But Tony Ramos had a great career, was just kind of continuously inching his way up there towards that national title. He made the finals as a junior against Stieber, and that was a very kind of controversial match there, where Tony locked up a cradle and took Stieber over and didn't get the count. And that, if he had got the count, might have been his first national title, might have stopped Stieber from getting 4. But Tony Ramos, not much to say. National champ, 2-time finalist, 4-time All-American. And on the other end of things, Zach Roberson of Iowa State. Earl, tell us.
All right, Zach Roberson was a senior this year, 3-time All-American, going 7-4-1. He was 31-3 in the 5th seed. He lost in the Big Ten finals to 2-time returning champion Johnny Thompson. In the quarters, he beat Foley Dowd 3-1. In the semis, he beat Travis Lee, the returning champion, at 25, 6-3. And then in the finals, he beat Josh Moore 5-4.
All right. Well, I don't know. Jack, what do you think?
Roberson was really tough. Like really good out of a hand fight. He would do this thing like a side pitch with the club, and he would take everyone down with it. That's how he beat Travis Lee that year. I mean, I like him in the hand fight with Ramos. I think that he's actually a really good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got to go Roberson just because of how he can handle a hand fight. But Ramos is super tough for sure.
Correction, Ramos was a 3-time All-American, not a 4-time All-American. I don't know. I got a hard time picking against Tony, especially in this year, just kind of a man on a mission. And so I'll go Tony, and I'll leave it to Earl.
Yeah, initially I thought it was all Ramos, and for the reasons Jack said, I think it'd just be a crazy, intriguing matchup because Ramos would be forward pressure, and that whatever you want to call it, shrug, shuck, whatever Roberson did was just unbelievable, and that was his go-to move. So in this instance, I could see him getting a takedown or two on that based on Ramos's strengths. All that being said, I still feel like Tony would find a way to win it. So I'm going to go with Ramos.
All right. Cool. So Tony Ramos takes the win for 2014, and we will move to the next match, which is going to set up Logan Stieber versus Cliff Moore. Logan Stieber of Ohio State, this is his 3rd national title. In this tournament, he was actually the 2 seed. He came in the 2 seed because of a loss to a 1 Zane Rutherford earlier in the season, when Zane kind of shocked the world and really made a name for himself. Zane was the 3 seed in this tournament because he lost to Mitchell Port, who was the 1 seed. So Logan Stieber through the tournament beats Anthony Colica 17-1, tech over Anthony Colica, which is pretty crazy. Beats Todd Preston, and then Zane Rutherford in the semifinals. He takes out 7-3 before hitting Devin Carter in the finals and getting the major decision 10-1. We all know Logan Stieber. We know his illustrious career he had. This was his 3rd national title that set up the final or the senior campaign for 4. And so obviously at this point in his career, having wins like Tony Ramos, J.O., Mitchell Port, Zane Rutherford, just has some of the best wins you can have on a college career. And so there's not many guys that you can pick against or that you can pick over Logan Stieber. But let's hear from Cliff Moore.
All right, Cliff Moore was a senior this year also. The 5 seed went 33-2, 3-time All-American going 6-6-1. Big Ten champion. He beat Jason Mester from Central Michigan in the quarters 6-4. Majored Scott Moore from UVA 14-2 in the semis. Mentioned earlier, Scott Moore was the Hodge Trophy runner-up this year. He finished the year 50-1 with like 30 some pins.
34 pins,
34
yeah.
pins. After he lost in the semis, he pinned both Nate Gallick and Tion Ware to get third place. So he kind of stayed solid and caught Scott in some bad positions and beat him 14-2, and then beat the 7 seed Matt Murray in the finals 5-2.
All right. I know that there's a lot of discussion with Cliff Moore maybe in our kind of chat for before this thing. Jack, what are you thinking about this? What are your thoughts on Cliff Moore, and can he take out Logan Stieber at this point?
I've got Stieber here. Cliff Moore's super tough, and he obviously destroyed Scott, who was unreal for UVA, dominating, pinning everyone. I mean, I was arrogant freshman me was like, oh, let's see what some of these records are. I want to break some of them. I saw 34 pins, and I was like, yeah, nope. The next one's like maybe half of that. But what Scott Moore was able to do for our program was huge. I think that was either Garland's first year as the head coach or the year before he was the head coach. But yeah, I think that's a huge win on the resume. Definitely underrated. Scott Moore came and trained with me when I was like right out of high school, pretty much at UVA. So it was that summer. He came down with Ronnie Perry, and we worked out. And this dude cradled me about 1,000 times in a practice. Just pinned me over and over again. I'd get a couple takedowns, and he'd pin me. I was like, leave me alone. But yeah, I think that being said, I mean, I don't really know much specifically about Cliff Moore, but I just don't. I think it's hard beating a junior Stieber. Is this junior or senior Stieber? Junior, because he didn't win the title, or they didn't win the team title. Yeah, so it's hard to beat junior Stieber. I mean, pretty impossible. No one really did it.
Yeah, I mean, sure, dude was just lights out on top. I'm going to follow suit and say Stieber. Are we venturing into major territory? I know that, it's crazy to talk about majors over national champs, but when you have Logan Stieber and just the insane rides and turns that he had on top, do you guys think that we're venturing that way?
No.
I would think like I don't know, 5 or 6 point decision, comfortable win for Stieber, but not major.
Okay, so you got Stieber as well.
Yeah, and kind of a side note about Scott Moore, I had him for a podcast a couple years ago and asked him about that specific match. And his twin brother Josh, who's now the head coach at Cleveland State, he was the runner-up to Zach Roberson, and he was saying how he was too focused on watching his twin brother's match and kind of living and dying by what Josh was doing, and kind of really just kind of went out and winged it out there more than focusing on what he was supposed to do. But that kind of thing that twins have.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's really cool to see twin guys come into the sport and wrestle together. I think it's a really interesting dynamic. My first year or second year coaching, we had twins on our team that were 160 and 170. And these kids were just stupidly athletic, man. I mean, we didn't get them out to wrestle until like sophomore year. And so we got them out on the team, and they're just crazy athletic, and man, like, just, you knew these two kids, like, if we could teach them a couple moves, we're going to be great. And we were able to teach them, and they just love the sport. And they went from sophomore year, junior year, not even making the state tournament, to senior year, both of them in the state finals. And they both ended up winning it. But it was really, really crazy, like you're talking about, to see the first one step on the state finals stage, win a state title in a really crazy match coming down to the end, 1-point match. And then he wins, gets his hand raised, doesn't even look happy. Like, doesn't look like he cares at all. Literally, like, most people do stuff, they do flips or, bows or whatever they do and run off. Well, he got his hand raised, ran over to the side of the mat and just sat his stuff down and sat down and started pulling for his brother and just like didn't even care. Didn't care what was going on. Just he was 100% attention directed on his brother. And that second match was wild, man. It went into ultimate rideouts and we ended up getting the win. And so it was really cool to see that kind of dynamic. I think that's really an interesting thing in the sport for me. But we'll go ahead and move on. 149 pounds, Jason Surtis of Northwestern versus Jesse Jansen of Harvard. Jason Surtis this year was his freshman campaign at Northwestern. Dude kind of came out of nowhere, as a freshman, winning a national title. He was the 5 seed in the tournament, taking out James English in the second round, and then Dave Maple. Wow, it's Kendrick Maple, but this is the bracket. They have him as Dave Maple one time.
Yeah.
But he takes out Kendrick Maple 2-1 in overtime, or his twin brother Dave, whoever that was. Yeah, maybe evil twin Dave stepped in, and that's the reason that Kendrick Maple's not a 2-timer. Who knows? But the semifinals, he hits number 1 seed Drake Hadeshelt from Missouri and beats him 2-1 in overtime. So 2 straight 2-1 wins in overtime. And then in the finals, Josh Kindig, Surtis takes him out in overtime 3-1. So 3 straight overtime wins for Jason Surtis to wrap up his national title as a freshman. Yeah, over 3 really, really good dudes. I mean, Kendrick Maple, Drake Hadeshelt, and Josh Kindig, 2 of those guys end up being national champs. So at this point in his career, we were really looking forward to big things from Jason Surtis. Obviously, he had some troubles and transferred and ended up getting back on the podium later in his career and really had a good career, but starts it off with a national title. And so Jesse Jansen from Harvard, tell us about him, Earl.
Jesse Jansen was a senior this year. He was the 1 seed, went 38-1, 3-time All-American, going third to first. He beat David Dees in the quarters 10-5, Ryan Chirella in the semis 11-4, and then Zach Esposito in the finals 9-3. He has held or shares pretty much every record there is in the Harvard wrestling record book. So he was also the OW of this tournament.
Awesome. Yeah, so again, this is where we're getting back a little far for me, for Jesse Jansen, but my only thing about Jason Surtis is that he was definitely a guy that liked to win close matches, right? He only had a 36% bonus rate his freshman year, and that was the highest of his career. It ends up later being 31% and then 8%, 14%. So he won a lot of decisions, a lot of really close matches. I think personally, he was one of the guys that was kind of content by getting up by a few points and just, riding out the win, and not really pushing to his full potential, where I think he could have got a lot more bonus points. So I think that something like that might hurt him in this matchup. But what are you seeing, Earl? What do you think about these guys?
Yeah, both of them were strong on top. Jesse Jansen was really known for his crab ride series. It's kind of funny how things go in flows, ebbs and flows during wrestling as far as technique goes, because you had him, and then we're going to talk about Troy Letters later. They both really use that series to their advantage a lot. And I remember coaching at this time, the high school level, all the kids wanted to do that after watching these guys. But he was solid all over the place, not just on top. So I'm going to have to go with Jansen.
Yeah. What about you, Jack? What do you think?
Yeah, I know Jansen's known for his top game, and I was thinking he's known for his top game. Surtis is kind of known for his bottom game. His short sits and hip heists were pretty unmatched. But when I think of I don't know. I don't see him being super solid everywhere else. I think I'm gonna have to go Jansen as well.
Cool. That makes it easy on me as well. I was gonna also go Jansen. I'm just looking back at it, and I, I, I think it's a close match, and I can't get over the fact that Jansen really was kind of a bonus point machine. He had 50 pins at Harvard. Really did everything he could when he stepped on the mat to get the bonus points for the team. Whereas Sertzis kind of was just content with the win, and so I think that little extra edge pushes Jansen forward for me. Question though for you guys is at 149 this year, or now at 149, but this year, this is the year that we had freshman Jaden Cox and freshman Sertzis. I kind of said earlier, both win titles. I remember specifically, I'm a huge wrestling, dork, and this is my senior year in high school. I'm a little bit younger, but I remember having conversations with people thinking like, who's the next four-timer out of these two guys? Like, if one of them does it, who's more likely? At this time, right after, say, this tournament just ends, who would you guys have picked, and I'm not knowing what happens in the future, to have been more likely to be a four-timer?
Sertzis, and
Yeah,
because I knew Kyle Snyder was coming.
for sure. How about you, Earl?
Yeah, I thought Jaden was better, but yeah, knowing Snyder was around.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That was my thought too. I thought, man, this guy's incredible. He's definitely going to be a multiple timer, and has a better shot at winning four, especially in the weight range. I mean, obviously Stieber was down there and possibly could have came up, but I just remember thinking, how magical that run was, and those guys he beat. He's right up there, and we could be seeing the start of something really great. And Jaden was as well, but you know, I don't know. I think we all lean the same way on that. But uh, Jensen takes the win for 2004, and that's going to tie it back up at 9. Before we head to 157 pounds with Alex Daringer of Oklahoma State versus Matt Gentry of Stanford. Kick it off with Matt Gentry for us, Mr. Earl.
All right, Matt Gentry was a junior this year. 2 seed, went 42-0. He actually ended up being a two-time Olympian for Canada in '08 and 12. I think in 12 he really pushed Jordan Burroughs to the brink in one match of the Olympics. Not necessarily relevant here, but he was a Pac-10 champ. He beat Philip Simpson in the quarters 8-2, the returning champion Ryan Bertine in the semis 6-4, and then Jake Percival for the title 4-2. He actually did not All-American the next year. He lost to our friend Trent Paulson in the quarterfinals in a sudden victory. And then someone else was pretty tough for the All-American round. But yeah, he was the first and only national champion for Stanford.
Yeah. Well, on the other end of things, Alex Daringer, this is his first national title. He starts off at the 3 seed in this tournament, running through Joey Lavalle in round 2. Nestor, is it Tafur? And in the quarterfinals, hits Brian Realbuto in the semifinals, and then in the finals beats Jason Dylan Ness. They have Jason Ness in here. Yeah, they have Jason Ness all the way through the bracket. Wow. But Dylan Ness, thank God I know this. Dylan Ness, he beats Dylan Ness in the finals 13-4. James Green was the 1 seed here. This is when Dylan Ness kind of had that crazy moment in Oklahoma City. I still remember where I was sitting. I remember looking across the mat and seeing him hit that Gator Bacon move on James Green, which just ignited the crowd. It was insane. But there's a whole lot of really good dudes in this bracket, as well as those guys. Like I said, James Green, Dylan Ness, Isaac Jordan was a national finalist. You got Dylan Alton, Ian Miller, who made the semifinals multiple times. Got cheated out of a quarterfinal match at one point. Taylor Walsh, Derek St. John was the 2 seed that got upset by Brian Realbuto. But Derringer went 32-1 on the year. This was his last loss in college in his sophomore campaign. He had 2 undefeated seasons to close out his career, as well as a Hodge Trophy in his senior year. But Alex Derringer, 3-time national champ. This was his first. So, man, it's a hard one, but I really can't pick against Derringer at a lot of. He's just one of those guys that I really can't pick against. His freshman year, he ended up getting 3rd because he lost to Derek St. John. But past that, I mean, he was really kind of untouchable. Obviously, we said he had that 1 loss in his sophomore season, but I mean, I just remember like there's I think FRL was kind of talking about it the other day. There's several guys where you think of their name or you think of them during this year, that year, and they're kind of next topic guys. And I think that Derringer definitely was that for his last 3 years, and there was really nobody that was going to beat him. And so I'm going to pick Derringer in this one.
I kind of disagree. I don't think that he was next topic at this point. I think after this year he was. He was the 3 seed going into it behind James Green and Derek St. John. And was Nebraska in the Big Ten at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if they had wrestled or not in the Big 12s. But I like Gentry here just because I know Gentry has a win over Percival, who has a similar style to Derringer. So I think that he would match up really well with him.
I think you're just trying to hurt me because Percival was the guy that took Gilman out in our best to never win it round 1. And I was so upset about that. So I think you're just trying to bring up bad memories, and every chance you get to say Percival's name, you throw it in there. But all right, Earl, break the tie.
Man, we're getting deep with these conspiracy theories with that best to never win it tournament.
Yeah.
A lot of lingering feelings going on with that one.
Goodness, I didn't know you were still thinking about that.
Hey, you know what? The champ lost in round 1. So Thomas Gilman.
Oh my gosh.
All
Champ
right,
lost in round 2.
This was a tough one for me. I'd probably go with Gentry this year. Undefeated, beats a guy like Ryan Bertine, Percival. Those are 2 good ones.
Really good ones.
I could tell by Jacob's face.
Still pissed. Still pissed. How does Gilman lose in round 1, Jack? That's a conspiracy.
What do you want me to say?
I want you and Seth to apologize. That's what I want you to do.
He was like one of our only one-time finalists in the tournament.
Whatever.
He got pinned by an unseeded wrestler. Like, I don't know what can I say about that.
Hater. All right. Well, we got to make a decision here.
We did. We made it.
Yeah,
we made it. Oh, wow.
You're still frustrated.
Yeah. I think I was so frustrated.
I think
I blocked it
2004
out.
is about to pull off this upset.
It really might.
Like, I think it will.
It really might. Just trying to make me do more research. Y'all are pissing me off. Just keep all these guys around that I know what I'm talking about. But next one, we have 165, David Taylor of Penn State versus Troy Letters of Lehigh. Fill us in on Troy Letters, Earl.
All right, this was sophomore Troy Letters. He ended up being a 3-time All-American. He was a runner-up as a freshman. 1 loss, NCAA champion this year, the 2 seed. The only wrestler to beat him was Tyrone Lewis, who he beat in the finals 5-2. In the quarters, he pinned John Clark in the first period, and then beat Matt King 4-2 in the semis, and he won the second of his 3 EIWA titles, and probably would have been in the mix as a senior with Perry and Hendricks, but he had pretty much like a broken neck or something.
Yeah. Well, on the other end of things, David Taylor, not only David Taylor, but senior year David Taylor, 35-0 Hodge Trophy winning David Taylor, 94% bonus rate. Guys, he only missed, I think he only had a decision twice, and they were both Tyler Caldwell. One of them was in the finals, and it was 6-0. So we're a takedown away from a major decision right there in the finals. But if you guys vote against senior David Taylor, I might actually just turn this off and quit.
I'm not. But I'm not going bonus either.
Oh, come on. No.
Troy Letters is 100% better than Tyler Caldwell. 100%. You can't say that it's going to be bonus.
I can say whatever the heck I want.
No, there's no way.
I can say.
No way. There's literally no way.
Here's how you do it.
So this is what I was talking about on Twitter yesterday. I knew there was somebody that was going to try to say bonus for David Taylor.
There's no.
Oh yes.
No chance. No chance.
This would be a very close match.
Yes.
All right, y'all can say whatever you want, but everyone's vote counts. And David Taylor by major decision is my vote here.
Oh my gosh.
And how
can you say that?
Even if I get outvoted, I don't give a crap. David Taylor gets a major decision.
I'm trying to save your wrestling integrity here.
No, there's no wrestling integrity here. How in the heck can anybody's wrestling integrity be tarnished by saying David Taylor gets bonus points?
Because Troy Letters is better than Tyler Caldwell, and it's not close.
Dude, I don't care. This is the best David Taylor.
He couldn't bonus.
Best David Taylor that we saw in 4 years, and he would. Oh my God. Yeah, well, my vote's David Taylor by major decision, but you guys are obviously smoking something before we got on the show, so y'all just got David Taylor by decision, I guess.
Yeah, overtime rideouts.
Oh, don't try to piss me off even more, Jack. Oh my God! All right, if this isn't a major decision, it's freaking 7-0. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
5-3.
Goodness, it's close.
This is ridiculous. No. God. All right. Whatever. 2014 should have bonus points here, but they don't.
I'm so frustrated right now.
You're frustrated.
But you still want bonus. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, I want bonus. David Taylor is possibly one of the best college wrestlers of all time. And he only won 2 titles, right? We're talking I talk about him up there with the Dakes and Stevers and all those guys. I mean, am I wrong for doing that?
I think Dake's in a league of his own when you talk about those 3 guys. But I voted against him twice the other day, so
yeah. So we all make mistakes.
One was pretty biased, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, you'll make the right choice next time.
There's no way. You don't help your argument saying that the only 2 times you didn't get bonus were against Tyler Caldwell.
Okay, well, has Troy Letters ever wrestled Tyler Caldwell?
No, but he's like the exact same.
Y'all are just
how can you say that? Has any of these guys ever wrestled each other?
Well, y'all are just all like,
10 years apart.
Troy Letters is obviously better than Tyler Caldwell, but he hasn't wrestled him. So where are you guys getting what you're saying?
Yeah, but he's beating guys like Johnny Hendricks and Mark Perry.
He's better on his feet, better on the mat.
Like
Caldwell maybe was better.
What's Caldwell's best win? Has he beaten any of those guys? I feel like he just keeps it close with them.
Not sure. I could tell you his best losses, though.
That doesn't matter. I can tell you my best losses, too.
Oh, my God. Whatever. Stupid. How am I pissed about winning? Like, my guy won, and I'm still mad. But we'll move on.
Because your wrestling integrity is at stake with that win.
Whatever. 174 pounds, Chris Perry of Oklahoma State versus Chris Pendleton, also of Oklahoma State. For Chris Perry, this is the year that I believe this is the year that he beat Andrew Howe in the finals. And, we kind of talked about it the other duel when we had Chris Perry and his other national championship. And the first national championship for Chris Perry, he to me, and listening to him on another podcast, just kind of not walk through it to the title, but kind of just wrestled and ended up winning a title. This year, Chris Perry was a whole different animal. Dude had a vision quest, was on a mission. Everybody was kind of discounting him. I mean, he's a national champion at this point. And Andrew Howe comes back in, and everybody's all like, yep, Howe's going to win. Howe's going to win. Chris Perry's got no chance. And I think that really fueled his fire and pissed him off. And he got to work and I believe he beat him in the Big 12 finals and the NCAA finals, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he beat him in the Big 12 finals, setting himself up as the number 1 seed in the tournament. Takes out Mike Evans in the semifinals 3-2, and then beats Andrew Howe. Not only beats Andrew Howe in the finals, but beats him 4-0. Very, very, handled match. Looking back at this bracket, man, there's some dudes in this thing. On the top side, obviously you had Chris Perry, but in one quarterfinal you had Matt Brown versus Mike Evans. Matt Brown, eventual national champion. Mike Evans, as an Iowa fan, one of my favorite guys in the past decade. How can you not dig the porn star mustache? I absolutely loved that guy. Just the porn star stash and the attitude. He embodied Iowa wrestling for me. But the quarterfinals at the bottom are insane. Robert Kokesh versus Logan Storley, and Tyler Wilps versus Andrew Howe. I mean, Storley's a 4-time AA. I think Kokesh is either 3 or 4-time AA. Was a 1 seed at one point. Tyler Wilps was a finalist. Andrew Howe's a national champ. But this was a good one, man. Battle of the national champs in the finals. Chris Perry takes the win. And on the other end of things, Chris Pendleton. Tell us about Chris Pendleton in 2004, Earl.
This is junior year Chris Pendleton, first NCAA title. He went 33-1. This is the year that he lost to Ben Askren in the Big 12 finals. He was third place finisher the year before. In the quarters, he majored Pete Friedel 14-3. He pinned Ryan Lang in the semis, and he beat Askren for the title 11-4. That was his only regular decision of the tournament, a 7-point win over Ben Askren.
God, I'm torn. Jack, what do you think?
I'm leaning Perry. I like the top. I like that he kind of slows it down. I think that he matches up really well with Pendleton. I don't know. I think that Pendleton kind of has this aura about him because he beat Ben Askren before Ben Askren was Ben Askren, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, part of me wants to say that was just a matchup. The worst matchup for Ben was a guy that is so good on his feet, has great technique, lightning quick with that technique as well.
Yeah.
But I like that Perry can slow it down and get on top. He's very hard to score on. That 174 weight class from that time, I don't know. I feel like they were all, outside of Perry and Howe, especially this year, the Matt Brown, Mike Evans, Logan Storley, Kokesh, Wilps. I feel like they were all kind of the same level, which made it exciting. I think it's going to be if Yanni doesn't bump up, it's 149 next year. That weight's going to be exciting because they're all similar level, but none of them are maybe where a Jordan Oliver would be, or Kyle Dake or Zane Rutherford is. I feel that was kind of how this weight was.
Or Troy Letters.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Throw Troy Letters in this bracket. Dude does an AA. Okay, there you go.
Which bracket?
I'm just kidding.
You're making him bump up a weight class and.
Whatever. But
I've got Perry. I like that he can slow it down and get on top.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about the bracket being so much fun because of that reason. And even the year before with Chris Perry, before he won a national title, you could definitely lump him in with all those guys. He kind of broke through and won it, but you definitely were looking at, all these guys kind of came up together and and one of them had to win it, but you didn't really know who because they all kind of had wins over each other. And I remember, one match to point out in here was that Storley over Kokesh match, which I don't know if Earl was on. I think it might have been somebody else when we talked about it last time, but I don't know if you remember that match when Storley and Kokesh were wrestling. Kokesh was up by 1 point with like 10 seconds left and decides to turn and run away. And Storley just dove at his legs and got the 2 with like 5 seconds left. It's crazy. But
that sounds really weird. Like, it's like hard for me to believe you.
What do you mean?
Like, I know you're not lying, but it's like, just who in their right mind just decides to turn and run? Like, with 10
Look it
seconds
up.
left?
Look it up. My wrestling integrity is absolutely fine. Like, I am correct here. Okay. I remember this crap.
No, I believe you. I just think that it's weird.
He did it. Well, he did it twice too, because they came around and they wrestled again for 3rd and 4th, and Storley beat him again. And this time Kokesh didn't run away that time, but like, and I say run away. It's not like the dude literally turned the other direction, just took off running.
See, that's what I'm imagining right now.
No, but like, he was
like arms up and everything.
Well, you know how it is. Like, you get ahead by a couple points, last seconds, they're kind of like staying away. And he like even more so. Like, usually you kind of at least stay in and like kind of push people away. But he just literally kind of like ran almost. And it was a really cool finish. But Earl, I'm gonna give it to you because I'm still having trouble. I think I know where I'm going, but I want to see if you're gonna make it interesting or not.
Yeah, my first inclination was to take Pendleton, but beating Howell back to back the way he did, kind of, especially the second time, was so decisively. Even though it was only 4-0, it was all Perry that match. I do think he'd be able to slow Pendleton down, and I'll go with Perry.
All right. Yep. I'm going to go the same way. Yeah, I was leaning Perry, but I was interested to see if you were going to go Pendleton or not. Again, if it's a different year, it might be different for me. But, 2014, Chris Perry was on a mission, and I don't think there's many people that were going to deny him. But if y'all want to get into like some transitive property or some crap, we can start talking about Howe versus Askren, and then you guys can use that to your advantage for all your matches. And
I'm a big transitive property guy.
Yeah, obviously. Because Troy Letters would beat Tyler Caldwell, although they never wrestled.
Oh my gosh. If you come up with Tyler Caldwell's best win for me, then I will think about it.
Andrew Howe.
Whatever. Yeah.
Andrew Howe, he beat Andrew Howe?
Yeah.
11 NCAA semis to wrestle Jordan Burroughs.
Okay, Troy Letters' best win is either Johnny. Did he ever wrestle Johnny? Because he was seated above him.
I know the next year, I think he lost to him during the regular season.
Because he was the 1 seed in the 2005 tournament.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm sorry. His senior year, he lost to Hendricks. He might have beat him that 2005 season.
Because right now it's Ryan Chirella, and I would take Ryan Chirella over either of those guys too.
Moving on.
I smell a Twitter poll.
Whatever.
They wrestled.
You have to look. Yeah, look on Twitter poll and see. Yeah. What are you saying? Twitter poll between who?
Caldwell Letters, Taylor Letters.
Caldwell Letters is absolutely going on Twitter right here in a minute.
No, that's dumb. That is dumb because people have no idea who Troy Letters is.
Are you whining? Are you worried about your wrestling integrity? Because my guy's going to win.
Troy Letters' best win was Johnny Hendricks.
Not a bad one.
Yeah, I'll take Andrew Howe.
In 2005.
I'll take Andrew Howe.
Oh my gosh.
I'll take Andrew Howe all day.
Oh my gosh. You're just being ignorant at this point. Like, I don't even stubborn. That was stubborn.
Andrew Howe beat
you take Andrew Howe over Johnny Hendricks?
Yeah, I will. Absolutely.
Let's get on to this next match. I'm ready to piss y'all off more.
Andrew Howe beat Kyle Dake.
Because I know who I'm going with already.
Whatever. All right. Ed Ruth versus Greg Jones. Apparently, Jack already knows who he's going with, but at this point in his career, where is Greg Jones, Earl?
This is his junior season. He won a title already as a freshman, didn't place as a sophomore, was 26-0 this year, 1 seed. He beat Brian Glenn in the quarters 3-2, beat Paul Bradley in the semis 8-3, and Ben Heiser for the title 10-5. And he won the third of his 4 EWL championships.
All right. This year for Ed Ruth was, I believe, his senior campaign, winning his 3rd national title. He went 38-1.
Wait, I don't think it was. Was it?
Yes, sir.
Because I thought this was the year that he was seeded 2nd and he got beat by.
No,
This
because
is he
was
was
in line.
he
He was
when
seated-
he lost to Dean.
He was he was seeded 2nd because
what?
Shep Talk. Shep Talk was the 1 seed because he was undefeated.
Headlock Shep Talk.
Mm-hmm. But if Jack would let me finish my spiel, he would understand all these things.
I'm sorry.
38-1. His only loss coming to Gabe Dean. He was the 2 seed at the tournament behind Headlock Shep Talk. See, all of those things that you just asked about were coming right after when you ignorantly jumped in.
Ignorantly.
87% bonus rate. I mean, Ed Ruth goes through the tournament, Penn, Tech, Major, and then a 5-3 win over Gabe Dean in the semifinals, which was controversial. And Gabe Dean could have possibly even gotten that win. There was a situation, like a rear standing position. Gabe Dean, I think, like Granby out of it, some kind of weird situation where it could have went the other way. But Ed Ruth wins that match and then hits Headlock Shep Talk in the finals. And there, unfortunately, were no headlocks. It was a 7-2 win for Ed Ruth. So, Jack, go ahead, fill us in. You know what happens. Greg Jones.
Yep, he's too dominant.
So I saw a guy. I got to figure out if he ever commented back. But there was a guy on Facebook that commented and said, he said, I picked Greg Jones in this match. There's only 2 guys in the history of the weight class that I would pick over Ed Ruth, and one of them is Greg Jones.
Did he say who the other one was?
That's what I commented and asked, and I can't. I'm gonna go try to find it. But Earl,
Why would
tell
he
us.
not do that? Now I feel like I really need to know.
I know, like I was dying. I was like, no,
Bo,
you got to
right?
tell me.
Bo
Yeah,
Nickel.
gotta be. I don't know. But Earl, tell us who you got in this match, or Jack, you can explain yourself and not just say a name.
No, I'm going Greg Jones.
All right. All right, Earl, tell us.
Oh man. I feel like I'm a deciding vote, even though I'm going up 2nd. I can tell this already. Man.
Are you saying you're the deciding vote because you know where I'm going?
Yeah, you're going Ed Ruth.
How do you know? You don't know anything about my vote. You don't know crap about my vote, all right?
You're going Ed Ruth. It's fine. We know.
I don't even know crap about my vote right now. So I'm trying to find this comment though, but I don't know. Who do you got, Earl?
I don't know. I'm trying to stall a little bit, but I'll admit it. I'm leaning towards Greg Jones, man. He was, I don't know. I think he was the best wrestler this year. I can't believe he didn't get the Hodge, but it is what it is. Yeah, and I think I probably would have been even more decisive if it was 2004 Greg Jones, but I'm sorry, 2005 Greg Jones, but even 2004, I'm good with it. He was probably the best offensive guy of his era.
So good from his feet.
Well,
I think this one would be a blast to watch, but I don't see Ed Ruth. I don't see Ed Ruth beating him. I really don't. No one touched Greg Jones.
Oh yeah, oh man, I don't know. I think
tiebreakers.
Y'all already went 2-0 for Greg Jones.
Yeah,
no, like a total tiebreaker.
You saying?
Yeah, no, it's 15-15.
Oh God! Oh, I didn't even realize that.
What
Oh
what
no!
finalist match are you choosing?
All right, you said what?
Who are we gonna choose for second?
Hey, you don't have my vote yet. All right.
Yeah. We had your
Um,
vote a while ago.
really, really, seriously, who's my vote?
You're going Ed Ruth.
Yeah, baby, I'm going to Ed Ruth. I got Ed Ruth. Come on, dude, Ed Ruth. Um, I honestly, that match is so close. I don't know. I could see it going both ways. But in the interest of possibly pissing Jack off again, yeah, I'll take Ed Ruth. Um, so, but my vote does matter, but it didn't in the grand scheme of things. So 15-15, and we're gonna go with what I. Well, I guess we can decide whatever we want to do because we're doing this thing. But
I've got a good one that we could talk about.
okay,
If we're gonna choose a finalist, like a runner-up match, I like this one: Tyrone Lewis versus Tyler Caldwell.
oh my God. Hey, I thought the deal was so somebody commented on Facebook and said like basically if it ever happened to just pick a random weight and take those two guys because at least they're the same weight and you're not trying to pick a Tyrone Lewis to smash a Tyler Caldwell.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair. Then let's just pull it
but
out of a hat,
I don't
I
know.
guess.
Like, do you guys off the top of your head remember these runner ups and
No, I've got him right here. So Kyle Ott versus Nashawn Garrett would be 125. Josh Moore, Tyler Graff would be 133. Matt Murray, Devin Carter would be 141. Zach Esposito, Josh Kindig would be 149. Jake Percival, Dylan Ness would be 157, which would be a fun one. Tyrone Lewis, Tyler Caldwell, 165. Ben Askren, Andrew Howe, 174.
that's it.
184, Ben Heiser, Jimmy Sheptalk, 197, Ryan Folsis, Nick Heflin, and then heavyweight Pat Cummins and Tony Nelson.
I guess we got to do 2 out of 3 votes to determine this one, but my vote is definitely Askren Howe.
I'm with either. I'm with either on that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's gonna be 65, then 2004 is winning.
Well, I'm just thinking like which of those matches would not only be fun to talk about, but like could go both ways. You know, we're not just like picking a year just to pick this guy.
Exactly. Okay, then let's go 74 because that one.
Yeah,
they're both eventual national, or I guess Howard won his by this point.
Yeah, I think this is a good place to talk about him too. Yeah, man. So yeah, our match to decide the duel is going to be 2014 Andrew Howe versus 2004 Ben Askren. Man, this is the year Ben Askren that beat Chris Pendleton, and for Andrew Howe, this is his 28th year in college, and and he had already won a national title at this point. All right, Jack, what do you think?
I get to start it. Okay.
Yeah, get started.
Man, I just like the funk. I like the funk in this situation. Andrew Howe is kind of a stiff as a board wrestler, I feel like, but I always feel like I kind of choose against Howe. I think that he's better than what I think. I don't know, 6 seed freshman Ben Askren. I just think the matchup's got to be Askren. The funk beats the stiffness, the strength of Andrew Howe.
All right, sorry, Earl. Andrew Howe is going to win this match, and we'll leave it to Earl. But I got Andrew Howe at this point.
Pure pride right now.
It is absolutely not. No, listen, and let me talk. So Andrew
You
Howe
just
at this
passed it
point.
off.
No, I got my vote in. Okay.
Okay.
But Andrew Howe is going to win this match, and that is because Andrew Howe at this point is a national champ. He's been wrestling. This is his senior year. He's been dominating people for 4 years, aside from Chris Perry and battles with Burroughs and other guys like that. But at this point, Ben Askren, yes, is kind of clear the number 2 guy, but consistently gets beat by Chris Pendleton. And at this point in his career, I'm going to take Andrew Howe. If this was a senior versus senior, I would definitely be going Ben Askren. But I'm going to take Andrew Howe at this point in their careers, just because of the years and what we're talking about. I got Howe. Earl.
All right, so this point in time with Andrew Howe, his best days were 2010, undefeated at 165 pounds. He was really, really good at 174, but I don't think he was quite the same guy this year. Great stylistic matchup. I'm going Askren.
The upset. The 3 seed goes down.
Oh, this is crap. This is absolute crap. Oh, whatever.
Gosh.
So, wow. Okay. All right. Well, Askren, the tiebreakers, and Earl just votes with Jack no matter what.
That is not true.
I think the first 4 weeks, me and him were opposite.
Whatever. Whenever it is clearly defined.
He
If it is
chose
ever.
Rollins. Did you choose Delgado or Powell?
Yeah, I chose Delgado. I think
And then he chose
Roberson.
Ramos because I chose Roberson.
Yeah.
And we went same on Stieber, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no collusion.
Yeah. Hey.
No collusion. That's absolute BS because every time me and Jack went different ways, Earl seemed to go with Jack. Whatever.
Yeah.
But we got it done 16-15, 2004 with the upset over the 3 seed. We have 2 upsets in a row. But we can go ahead and put a bow on this one. 16-15, 2004 moves on, and we are about to. Thank you again for listening in to episode number 27 of the HMA Fantasy Wrestling Podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time for the final match of the first round, where the number 6 2017 champs take on the number 11 2019 champs. That episode will be dropping tomorrow, so make sure to give it a listen. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you as always.